Okay, so there's been a little bit of a delay with Playton Place in accepting funds from the people that are committed or that have sent in their agreements, signed agreements. And in an effort to be completely transparent, which is one of the goals of all of these funds that we're putting together and the goal of Coachwood Capital, which is, I feel, a differentiating factor of a lot of other funds, is transparency. So with that said, the delay in moving to the next step is because the 10-year treasury, which is what the lender is basing their rate on, and our mortgage for this particular property has moved around 60 basis points, effectively changing the deal for us.
And just dive into that a little bit deeper. Like, how does that actually change the deal?
So the reason why this has happened is, or the reason why this is changing the deal is because the 10-year treasury has moved up. The loan is a Fannie Mae loan. Fannie Mae bases their long-term debt off of the 10-year treasury. When the 10-year treasury increases, the overall effective rate also increases. So having the rate tick up by about 60 basis points affects the returns for the property. Based off that, what we're having to do right now is I'm going to have to go in for a retrade. And in the U.S., the term retrade essentially means price reduction. Now, why am I going in for a price reduction? In order for me to hit those initial targeted returns, the price of the property has to come down because the rates have increased.
Yeah, you pretty much reverse engineered it.
Exactly. Next step now is, number one, getting February's income statement from the sellers, because that's what the lender's requesting now. Given the fact that this is a newer rehabbed property, we're not working off of a T12. We're working more off of a T3, I guess you could say, based on December, January, February. Now, the lender is making an exception to work off of even a T1 because the submarket is so strong. They've actually they have a Phoenix office as well. They actually had the Phoenix office vet the property already, and the submarket and the property is performing so well that they made an exception to work off of the T1. Now, what do I mean by working off of a T1?
And a T1, for anyone listening that doesn't know what like T12, T3, T1 means, that just means trailing. So T12 means trailing 12 months, T3 means trailing 3 months, T1 trailing 1 month.
Basically, like they're going to be anything with respect to a trailing rent roll, a trailing income statement. So what we've gotten an exception for is to work off of March's collection for the in terms of a rent roll, and February's expenses, because we're not going to have all of March's expenses, obviously, being that they want to close. It's March 7th right now. They want to close April 1st. So we're not going to be able to get all of March's expenses. They're going to work off of February's expenses, and they're going to use March's rent roll or collection rate, minus any kind of bad debt or minus any kind of delinquencies or economic vacancies and concessions and things like that. So, and why are they doing that? Because in order to get the property leased up, there was concessions in December, January, even November, early or late November when they got the occupancy permit. So late November, December, January, and even February. So we're waiting for March's full rent roll and income to see if the concessions have burned off yet, right? So that's why they're going in. Why are we doing that? Because that will allow us to get higher proceeds, to bump the LTV higher. So obviously, real estate is a leverage game. The property's performing very well. It's in a very robust submarket, very strong fundamentals. I want to see as much proceeds as I possibly can. They'll never be higher than like a 75-25 in this market, but I'm pushing for like a 65, anywhere from 65 to 70. We're probably going to land in and around 65-35, maybe even a little bit less in terms of the LTV. LTC will be lower, because all of the closing costs will be wrapped into that. But I want to see an LTV as close as possible to 65-35. That's what I want to see. So that's the reason for the delays. It's accepting of the retrade, and it's waiting for March's essentially gross income to come through.
And maybe even we can go into why specifically we haven't even been. We can also go into why specifically we're not necessarily accepting the funds yet. Like, people can send their funds, but we're not going after sending them in. Maybe if you want to explain why.
Yeah, because, is there a chance that this deal may not go through? Of course, there's a chance. I don't want to be sitting on a bunch of funds from people that I'm going to have to send back anyways. If you've signed the commitment letters, we know you're committed to this deal.
You have a spot.
I'm more than confident that you're going to be coming in because you recognize how great of a deal this is and an opportunity this is. So I'm not worried on that front. It's more about, I don't want to have to put people out and get their money only to, eventually send it back in a week or so. I don't want to have that happen. I want to work out the deals first, and I want to know 100% unequivocally I'm going through with this deal 100%.
Yeah. So for anyone that has signed the actual agreement but hasn't sent their money in, what should they do?
Give us a little bit of time, probably till the end of this week. In the event you want to send your money, because maybe you're going away for March break. I know March break is coming up this week, and you're not going to be able to send the funds in time, or it might be getting a little bit close for you. Feel free. You can send the funds. I'm not saying you can't send the funds. All of the wire instructions are already there. It's not a problem. We'll hold your funds in trust. Your funds are absolutely safe. If that's not an issue for you, you can also wait. So,
and then anyone that has potentially, because this video is also going out to people that have submitted a soft commitment but didn't actually sign the paperwork yet, what would you say to them?
If you are interested, we're going to need your signed paperwork, I would advise, only because we're getting a lot of interest right now. I believe
we're at 65% funded as of today.
Yeah, we're going to be quite a bit higher than that at this point, I feel. We've got a lot of interest. If all of the interest that came in with the last week, fund will be closed. Will that happen? Probably not. Some people I'm sure will drop off, but solely by the interest that came in within the last 7 days, we would be 100% funded. So if you want to really commit, I'd advise committing. It'll solidify your spot. If you don't, then that's fine too, and you can wait for our 100% green light to move forward with this deal.